Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
Upon entering the dungeon, she immediately pressed her palms against the wall in order to locate all of the monsters. As usual, they seemed to react to her presence and retreat to the final room. TCH, this again. Shiro frowned. What's wrong? Nantian asked curiously. Emin? Oh, nothing much. It's just that after getting my Empress class, it seems like all the monsters are able to sense my presence and hide in the final room. Shiro replied with a shrug. It wasn't exactly a problem since she could kill them all without any difficulties. However, it was just annoying to see the monsters constantly running away from her. Maybe it's something innate? I'm not exactly sure about what being the Empress means, but it sounds quite important. Nantian theorized. Oh, that reminds me. I haven't told you about what I know yet, have I? What do you mean? Well, do you know about race queens and the age of demons and gods? Shiro asked. I know a little about race queens, but not this age of demons and gods. Nantian shook his head. I see. In that case, then I'll explain to you what I know about queens first. Think of it as a makeshift hive mind. The power of the race is partially determined by their queen. With a strong queen, the members of that race receive a boost in power. Imagine if spirits were marked as a power level of 5 when they were queenless. After I became a queen, they would have been upgraded to a power level of 7 or higher. Of course, that's all just theory since for all I know, they might not have received noticeable upgrades after I became queen. Shiro explained. I see. So in a way, you're all linked by an innate network of sorts. Nantian nodded. Yup. And as for the age of demons and gods, all I know is that it is not good for us. As the name suggests, demons and gods will roam the land with man. Queens of different races will arrive with their people and claim land for themselves. Humans will have the toughest time as they would be suppressed around every corner. One of the queens has already arrived and told me to be careful as a fellow queen. Do you know about the incident at Mount Fuji? Yes, I do. That's the queen's doing. She was apparently placing an anchor of sorts. I don't know what it does, but I can only guess that it had something to do with their path to our world. Not only that, our world is apparently a garden of sorts. The Empress told me that we're a part of the later batches, and if we fail to survive the age of demons and gods in order to become the main home, the consequences would be quite dire. And by dire, I mean our world will be eliminated. Listening to her explanation, Nantian frowned before staying silent. Understanding the seriousness of the situation, he started to think about what he could do with the resources he could access in the sect. Seeing Nantian think about the situation with a serious expression, Shiro shook her head with a soft smile before walking through the dungeon. She was going to allow the monsters enough time to gather together into one spot before she eliminated all of them in one go. Shiro, Nantian called out as she glanced back. Emin, what is it? I think one of our biggest steps right now is to eliminate the Black Monarchy since they might be trying to speed up this process. In my time within the group, there were always preparations to summon something, or rather, someone. It's also in the Black Monarchy that I learned about race queens, so I think they're trying to summon one of the queens. As for which queen, I'm not too sure since I was not an important member when I was working with them. However, if we allow them to continue, they may just summon more queens ahead of time. Nantian said with a frown. That is quite bad. But eliminating the Black Monarchy is quite difficult from what I know. With hidden branches all over the world, it's hard to pinpoint all of them. Shiro sighed. Indeed. I think the best course of action right now is to probably send out a warning of sorts and tell everyone to get stronger. Maybe get a famous oracle to do a divinity to see the future. Nantian suggested. Amen, that would work. I'll have to rely on you for that though since my party aren't exactly well known. If anything, I can get Keiko to make a public announcement too. Shiro nodded her head. Can't you use the Asakura family name? After all, you are still their eldest miss. Nantian reminded. Oh right, that's also true. Shiro nodded. While she may have fused with Kuromi in a way, she still needed some time to fully get used to the situation. After all, she was given her memories rather than merging together. To put it in a grim way, it's like they've just killed Kuromi in order to pass Shiro her memories, and that was not something she wanted to think about. Speaking of which, I do have to ask that you're pretty chill despite knowing that I basically took over Kuromi's body. Shio raised her eyebrows. Well, you did say that you're the same person in one sense, did you not? Plus, I took an interest in you before even knowing you were Kuromi, so the fact that you were also my savior added more points, I suppose. Nantion smiled. I see, makes sense. Just know that you don't have to act all meek in front of me, okay? Other people will think of you as a pushover if you're meek. Shiro chuckled while making her way down the corridor. Would you rather me be assertive then? Nantion asked while flickering in front of her so that she bumped her nose against his chest. Not like this dipsh *T. My nose is sensitive, okay? Shiro frowned while rubbing her nose. Just be yourself or something. As a high-level person, I'm sure you don't like taking orders, so just go on your own whims. As long as you don't go past my bottom line, I'm pretty fine with it. What if I like listening to you? It reminds me of my childhood days in a way. Nantion chuckled while stepping aside. Just don't be a masochist, and I'll be okay. I'm not exactly one for liking a masochist's company. Shiro shrugged. I see. Then how about romance with a side of childhood friend? Nantion asked while rubbing the bridge of his nose. Whatever. But you know what? Since we're walking to the final room, and we've got F***ck all to do, I'll give you a chance. Try to tug my heartstrings or something. Entertain me for now. Shiro grinned. Rather sudden no? Opportunities don't tell you of their arrival, now do they? I'll give you 10 seconds, Shiro laughed. Hearing that there are only 10 seconds for him to impress Shiro, Nantion reached into his inventory and pulled out an old coat of sorts. Seeing the coat, Shiro immediately paused in her footsteps as she recognized it. Damn, well aren't you smooth? You've actually kept the coat I gave you back when you were injured as a kid. Shiro raised her eyebrows in surprise. Yup, I had kept this since it was the first gift I had ever received from you that wasn't a consumable. This coat helped me keep warm and carry on during my childhood, so it's only natural that I'll keep it. Nantion chuckled while storing the coat back in his inventory. So did that tug your heartstrings? He asked with a smile. Nope, Shiro replied while sticking her tongue out in a joking manner. If anything, you gave me a slightly better impression of you. Plus, even if you tugged my heartstrings, I don't plan on going into a relationship anytime soon, you know. Not exactly the best thing to focus on when the end of the world is coming. Why do you think I don't talk to Lyrica about it? Shiro said while walking past him. Hell, I haven't even told her that I'm technically her aunt since her mother was my friend. Now that would be awkward. She shrugged. Damn, giving me false hope of tugging your heartstrings when you don't plan on a relationship. How cruel. Nantion pretended to be sad, but the humor in his eyes gave his act away. PFT will get used to it. I'm a cruel maiden after all. Displease me, and you might find an ice spike trying to take away something precious from you. Shiro grinned while making an ice spike in her hand. Remembering her infamous nickname in New York, Nantion shivered for a moment before calming himself. Thankfully, it seemed like he's gotten rid of his bad image in her mind so that he won't be on the end of the ice spike anytime soon. Hopefully, it stays that way. He thought to himself while they made their way to the final room. Making their way to the depths of the dungeon, Shiro started to prepare her spell early so that she could just kill them the moment she entered the room. Choosing to experiment for a while, she glanced over at her stats page and thought about what she could use. One of the spells that caught her attention was the Force of Elements. Back then, using it once had caused a great amount of stress on her links due to the amount of elements she had infused the spell with. However, now that she had her links completely healed, this spell could be used more often. Unfortunately, it was a single target spell, so it wasn't useful for a room full of targets. If I fuse it together with Wrath of Stars, would the projectiles be the Force of Elements? She wondered to herself. If it does react like that, I'm pretty sure you'll be drained of mana in a single second. After all, the spell takes percentile mana rather than digit. Nimue recalled since the base cost of Force of Elements was 15% of her total mana, and each additional element added another 5% to the cost. True, if I replicate the Force of Elements over and over again, I'll be completely drained. Shiro agreed, while looking over at the other spells that she had. The next spell she wanted to test was probably the Celestial Gardens. This was the upgraded version of her throne world, so she was quite curious as to what it entailed. Settling with using her Celestial Gardens, Shiro arrived before the final room and pushed the door open gently. The moment she entered, Several magic circles surrounded her and locked her in place, making it so that even moving a finger was difficult. Furrowing her brows for a moment, she was about to activate one of her spells when she saw Nantion walk forward without a problem. It was as if the spells didn't even target him. However, she knew that this was purely his physical strength as the magic circles cracked under his pressure. Asterisk bang. Unable to take the pressure anymore, the magic circles shattered apart. Raising her eyebrows, Shiro was about to say something when Nantion stepped aside. "I'm not assisting you. I'm just casually walking forward when I seem to be hit by a low-level spell that just so happened to be the same one that's targeting you." He smiled as Shiro rolled her eyes. As if. Shaking her head with a soft smile, Shiro flickered to the center of the room before stomping down with her foot. Asterisk, boom. A pulse of mana exploded out as a blinding ray of light filled their vision. Choosing Astral Rift as the element, Shiro watched the world change in front of her very eyes. A waterfall of stars and iridescent lights fell from the sky as it surrounded the area. Trees, plants, and flowers bloomed beneath her feet, while delicately carved pillars erected out from the ground. The flower petals seemed to form from the very void itself, as each one was filled with a small galaxy. Glancing at the flower bed filled with stars, Shiro couldn't help but admit that it was quite a weird sight. Slightly further away, she could see mountains, rivers, and even flat land with large pillared walls surrounding everything. However, the distance between each of the pillars allowed you to glance further into the world, as she could see the familiar rift filled with millions of stars that shimmered with light. Looking up, she could see 6 giant illusionary statue figures donned with finely carved armor and spears. Their size was almost incomprehensible, as a single palm could cover the entire area around her. Asterisk whistle. Whistling slightly at the beauty of this place, Shiro was quite pleased. Of course, the 6 figures watching over the area were not exactly the best company she could ask for, but at least the landscape was pleasing to the eye. Summoning her bow to her side, she wondered if she could use all of the stars she could see within this world. Pulling back on her bowstring, an arrow started to form as mana surged towards her. Every single star in the world glimmered dangerously, as even Nantion felt a little threatened. Of course, this was just a thought, as the sight of being targeted by every single star you could see is quite overwhelming. Chanting the spell using celestial language, Shiro made sure to incorporate Asteria's name into the chant so that she could activate Asteria's blessing along with the skills attached to her bow. Once she finished the chant, she immediately let go of the arrow and allowed it to fly towards the monsters. However, the arrow disappeared, much to her confusion. Likewise, the stars that filled this world also dimmed out one by one. "I don't think that's supposed to happen," Shiro muttered, since this was the opposite effect of what she had set up when she used the spell. What should have happened was a scene similar to her Wrath of Stars, where countless arrows bombarded them. Sensing the mana around them, Shiro was greeted by an ominous emptiness. The mana was absent, completely drained for a lack of a better term. Before she could say a single word, color started to drain from every single monster as they were turned to ash and drifted across the garden, becoming fertilizer for the plant. Taking a sharp breath in, Shiro widened her eyes in shock. F***CK? Why the hell did my attack do that? She cried out in confusion. Hearing her cry, Nantion raised his eyebrows. "Wait, that wasn't part of your plan?" he asked. "Hell no. I thought it was just going to bombard them with arrows, not erase their entire family tree," Shiro retorted while quickly dashing towards where the monsters were standing. Realizing that she couldn't even collect loot, Shiro wondered what the attack had even done to them. The worst part is that she couldn't even sense it, so she had no idea what the effects were. "Damn, I think I'll keep this on hold for now. I can't research it, so I don't know if it's safe to use near the party," she muttered. "Well, I'm fine, aren't I?" Nantion said while looking down on his body. "Yeah, well, not everyone in the party has a body harder than my love for piercing asses. I don't want to use you as a basis and accidentally kill everyone." Shiro rolled her eyes while deactivating her celestial garden. Once she was back in the dungeon, she immediately checked to see the damage done, but noticed that not even a single scratch could be seen. Furrowing her brows, she glanced towards her stats. *PFT. The F***CK? It used over 70% of my MP. Shiro held her head in confusion. Her spell, that she had planned to just bombard the monsters, somehow mutated into a monstrous spell that took 70% of her MP to erase the monsters like a rubber on graphite. I need a moment to just sit down. How the hell did I make such a spell? She muttered while sitting down. Maybe it's a good thing? Mages often find strange spells while attempting to make something else. Nantian shrugged and sat down next to her. Yep, but still. Oh well, I guess I'll just set it aside for now. Since I can't research it, there's not much I can do about the spell. Shiro sighed while glancing at her level. After completely erasing the monsters, her level had immediately jumped up from 115 to 117. 2 levels in a single run was considered outrageous for people at their level, which just shows how amazing her title and passives were to double the amount of EXP she gained along with having the required amount to level up. With Lysandra farming in a separate dungeon, it should take her no time at all to get to level 200 when compared to other people that may take years to do so, especially when they have to share the EXP with their party. How did you just gain 2 levels in a single run? Nantian raised his eyebrows in surprise. Secret I'll tell you later if you catch my fancy or something. Shiro chuckled while standing up. Turning around, she prepared to leave the dungeon so that she could repeat the process once more. Only this time, maybe not create an existence-wiping skill as powerful as the one she had just made by accident. Hell, the system didn't even give her a choice of making it a skill, which was very strange considering Wrath of Stars became a skill. Making a few mental notes for her to investigate later, she left the dungeon with Nantian trailing behind her. For the rest of the day, Shiro repeated the level 160 dungeon rather than 150, as she could complete the 150 dungeon without too many problems. She did try the level 170 dungeon, but due to the tricky passive shields that the boss had, it was not as efficient as doing the level 160 dungeon since it took too much time. By the end of the day, she managed to raise her level to 120. Name: Shiro. Race: Celestial Fae. Title: Advanced Monster. 312/1000 humans killed. Fratricide. Creator of the Frozen Hell series. Incomplete. Creator of Style Azura's Path. Seeker of Truths. Revolutionary. Celestial Empress EX. Level: 120. Class: True Celestial Sylph Empress EX. Ascendant Snowmancer EX. HP: 35 000 000 /35 000 000. MP: 152,187 500/152 187 500. STR: 170,000-200,000 plus 40,000 equals 340,000. VIT: 160,000 plus 40,000 equals 280,000. INT: 400,000-450,000 plus 70,000 plus 22,500 plus 450 000 equals 1,217,500. AGI: 130,000-150,000 plus 30,000 equals 255,000. Dex: 110,000 plus 25,000 equals 200,000. Def: 80,000 plus 35,000 equals 155,000. Equals title bonus, 50%. Tears of the Sylph Queen plus 5% INT. Armor equals armor passive. Unassigned points, 100,000-0. Attunements: Cosmic Ice, Tier 4. Apocalyptic Lightning, Tier 4. Stygian Steel, Tier 4. Astral Rift, Tier 5, augmented with Calamity's Will. Void Star, Tier 4. Star, Tier 4. Dark Celestial Fire, Tier 5. Boreal Wind, Tier 4. Tectonic Quake, Tier 4. Oceanic Abyss, Tier 4. Nature, Tier 5. Balance: 23 gold 402 large silver, 641 silver errands 5604 bronze errands $0. Skills: True Celestial Sylph Empress. Elemental Breath, Fey Illusions, Force of Elements, Celestial Raiment EX, Tier 4 Element Magic, Rift Strider EX, Celestial Empress Domain EX. Monster Skill: Rejuvenation EX, Frenzied Incarnation EX, Intermediate Elemental Mastery, Spirit Assistance, Celestial Court Appointment. Snowmancer, Nanotech Engineering Tier 4, Analysis. Frozen Hell Series. Frozen Slumber, Azure Hell Fire, Borealis Lance, Frozen Chandelier. Ancient Healing Arts. Fire of Life, Path of Ascendance. Phantom Path, Azura Sword Path, Celestial Path, Berserker Path. Sword Skills. Refraction, Sword Domain, Soul Sword. Other. Minimap, Inspection, Disguise, Combust, Heavenly Constellation, Aurora, Chimera Arts, Celestial Gardens, Hollow Deceit, Kitoma, Celestial Language, Asteria's Blessing, Wrath of Stars. Unfortunately, despite reaching level 120, she did not gain any more skills. Not only that, her leveling speed started to slow down a little, so she theorized that she'll probably need to increase the level of dungeons she did to 180 in order to stay at the same pace of 4, maybe 5 levels per day. Hell, she guessed that by the time she was level 150, she'd need to do a ranked dungeons in order to level up faster. By that point, it may force her to use some of her life-saving skills such as rejuvenation in order to pull it off, since a class/tier 5 is in the same league as Keiko, who was one of humanity's strongest adventurers. During her dungeon runs, she had also learned more about what Nantion had to go through in his time with the Black Monarchy. He was forced to take missions which included scouting, infiltration, and other nefarious deeds that helped exploit humanity to some extent. Some of the information he acquired during his time in Black Monarchy is enough for a giant bounty to be placed on his head, making him the target of several assassins. If not for the sect master taking him in and nurturing him to be better, he would have probably died by now. Lil, Tion, you never told me anything about your sect master now, have you? Shiro asked while they were walking back to the hotel. You want to know about the sect master? Well, yeah. I'm technically in the sect, aren't I? It would be pretty awkward if I didn't know anything about the leader. Shiro shrugged. True. In that case, then where shall I start? Nantion nodded his head. How about just his name and where he came from? In that case, then I know that the sect master is called Li Xiong, and yes, I did take my surname from him since he adopted me. As for where he came from, the sect master never told me, and all I know is that he was outcast from his family. To be honest, I'm not even sure Li Xiong is his real name, but it doesn't matter too much. Nantion said with a soft smile. I see. Seems like he's made quite an impact in your life. Shiro nodded her head with satisfaction. At least this meant that the little beggar had a semi-decent life after leaving the Black Monarchy. He did indeed. Nantion chuckled. So what did he do normally, and what is his personality like? Normally, the sect master is quite reserved. He would spend most of his time checking on how we were doing in our training, along with maybe giving us some tips. When there's nothing for him to do, he would normally just sit by the side and drink some tea while watching us train. I did ask if he had any hobbies, but he replied with, watching you all grow gives me enough enjoyment, as I know that I can leave the next generation to all of you with ease. Nantion explained. Quite a reserved man then. Shiro said while glancing back. Yup. I suppose the next step is to tell me about your sect. Sure. The basic structure of the sect is split into 20 branches along with a single main branch. Each of the 20 branches is governed by an elder of the sect, with the exception of the third branch, which is mine. After all, my growth was much faster than what they had anticipated, so I was allowed to govern a branch despite not being an elder, in the sense that I'm not an old man. Nantion chuckled. You know, if you were an old man, your previous stalking acts would be much creepier, right? Shiro raised her eyebrows. Well, aren't you glad that I'm such a handsome and dashing fellow then? Nantion smiled jokingly. As if. I was already being stalked by the shadow idiot who was also handsome, so one more to the mix didn't change anything. Shiro laughed. Damn, making a harem already. You've got beauties by your side and handsome men doing your bidding. Such a player. Nantion shook his head in defeat. PFT. You make it seem like I'm a tyrannical emperor with a harem of 100 beauties, haha. Shiro laughed. Are you sure you don't mean sadistic empress with a harem of 100 beauties instead? Because if that's the case, then I'm pretty inclined to say that it is 100% accurate. Nantion replied. When the hell did 100 come from? If anything, wouldn't it only be like 10 or something? Shiro raised her eyebrows. You forgot about the other 90 plus you seduced without knowing. If you count your time as Kuromi, then you would have seduced more than 10,000 people. TSK, TSK, TSK. I think I might have to call you little succubus from now on considering how many people you've seduced. Nantion laughed. Call me that, and you can say goodbye to your ass. Shiro narrowed her eyes. Asterisk cough. Okay. Maybe not succubus since that's rather crude for such a pure and delicate woman you are. Nantion coughed. Do I smell honesty? Because your senses must be very keen to realize that I am indeed pure and delicate. Shiro grinned before increasing her speed slightly. Right? The day you're pure and delicate is the day when the sun doesn't rise. Anyone who thinks you're delicate is going to have a bad time. Nantion thought to himself, but didn't verbalize any of it. After all, doing so would be tempting fate, or rather in this case, tempting Shiro to pierce him, and that was not exactly high on his priority list. Arriving back at the hotel, Shiro glanced at her phone and saw that it was getting quite late. The party should be coming back to the hotel at any moment now. Shiro thought to herself while glancing at her phone. Sending a message to Keiko and Kiyomi, she asked them about their whereabouts since they should have arrived by now. Keiko, sorry. One of the demon F***ers decided to attack me on the road, so I'm running a bit late. I had Kiyomi go on ahead, so she should be arriving soon. Shiro, whereabouts are you right now? Keiko, don't worry, I'll be there soon. There are just 2 more demon generals left. Once I kill these 2, I'll be on my way there. Plus, they're level 450, so it would be dangerous for you. Shiro, wait a minute, you're texting during a fight. Keiko, I'm an assassin, stealth is what I'm good at. Shiro, fair enough. Though I do have someone pretty reliable next to me right now, and I'm sure he can help you out if you need it. Keiko, it'll be fine. Give me 20 to 30 minutes tops. I'll show these 2 F***ers why I'm the assassin hero. Seeing that Keiko was confident in handling the situation herself, Shiro could only smile as she made her way to the cafeteria with Nantion for some dinner while waiting for the rest of the party. Not too long after finishing their meal, the party returned one by one. Most of them had managed to level up once, maybe twice if they were lucky. Looking at the state of their bodies as well as their expression, Shiro realized that Sylvia was the most relaxed out of all of them. Seems like you had quite a bountiful run, Sylvie, Shiro said with a smile. Well, it was easier than I thought. I just had to keep buffing myself while I punched the boss. I also just ran past all the monsters after I realized that I heal more damage than what they can do combined. Sylvia laughed as Nantion raised his eyebrows. Damn, he muttered in his mind since he could imagine a lone healer punching away at the boss while the monsters couldn't harm her fast enough. Just imagining the scene of hundreds of monsters scratching away at her while she didn't care was quite the scene, as he almost felt pity for the monsters. Asterisk whistle. Welp, seems like we've confirmed that you can definitely solo a dungeon without problems. In all honesty, I almost feel sorry for the monsters. Shiro laughed. Shrugging her shoulders, Sylvia sat down with Chunyu and ordered some food. Looking over at the rest of the party, Shiro gestured for them to sit down since there was no point having them stand up. I might bring Addy, Nimue, and Azul out. Shiro muttered while glancing into her mana realm. Seeing that the 3 of them were playing around with each other, she couldn't help but smile. Do you 3 want to come out for some food? Shiro asked. Sure, I don't see why not. Nimue nodded as Azul did the same. Seeing that the 2 agreed, Shiro excused herself from the table so that she could bring them out without any worries. Jumping into the rift, she brought all 3 spirits out and held Addy in her arms once more. Leaving the rift, Shiro gestured for them to sit down and order something that they like. Seeing the 3 spirits, Nantion was rather surprised at their elements, especially with Nimue being a mana spring. If people were to submerge themselves and bathe in her water, their mana would receive a permanent boost. As for Azul, she was the spirit of nature, and that itself was quite a broad element to govern over. This meant that she could use wind, wood, water, earth, and any other element part of the natural surroundings. I've already known about her son being an incredible spirit, but to think her 2 friends were also incredible in their own regard. Nantion thought in surprise. The more he knew about her, the more he was taken aback by what she had accomplished over the course of a year. Scratch that, It hadn't even been a year yet, which is the most insane part. Emin, you alright? Shiro asked as she could tell that Nantian was thinking about something. Oh, it's nothing. I'm just surprised that you've made this much progress in less than a year. Nantian shook his head with a smile. Haha, are you jealous? Shiro grinned. A little, but I'm not too bothered since I'm already at a high level. There's no point to be annoyed by your leveling speed, either, since danger is looming around the corner. If anything, I wished everyone would level up as quickly as you so that humanity had a better shot at surviving. Nantian shrugged as the party couldn't help but nod at his thoughts. After finishing their meal, the party prepared to return to their rooms when Shiro realized that Nantian was still following her. You couldn't be thinking that you get to sleep in the same room as me, now are you? Shiro raised her eyebrows. Asterisk cough. Of course not. I'm merely making sure that you get to your room safely. Nantian smiled. Right, whatever. Do you have a place to stay? If not, grab yourself a room from the counter or something. Because my room isn't enough to accommodate you. Shiro waved her hand. Fine, I'll be honest with you. I want to get the room besides you if possible. Nantian confessed while shrugging his shoulders. That's rather bold of you. Shiro chuckled as the rest of the party were also slightly surprised by how bold Nantian was being. Lyrica seemed to have blanked out for a moment as Madison shook her head with a tired smile and escorted her upstairs. So, is that a yes or a no? I'll let you find out for yourself. Shiro laughed before jumping into the rift with her 3 spirits and 2 daughters. Chuckling softly, Nantian only shook his head before walking towards the reception. Branch Master. Chinyu called out. Emin, what is it? You're playing a dangerous game here. If you're not careful, you might be pierced. Chinyu warned as Nantian nodded his head. I know. Nantian smiled before walking away. Watching Nantian walk away, Chinyu couldn't help but give him a mental salute. Damn, Branch Master, your tastes are quite strong to be going after the Empress herself. What are you thinking about? Sylvia asked. Oh, just wondering if the Branch Master can actually get together with Shiro. Though with how she is, I doubt it since she's more focused on helping her race survive the next age. Chinyu replied. Amen, that's true. Shiro isn't exactly one to be focused on romance. There's also Lyrica, since it's pretty obvious that she has a crush on Shiro. I'm sure Shiro knows, so the fact that she's not responding probably means that she doesn't want to focus on romance just yet. Sylvia smiled while holding Chinyu's hand. Amen, though, do you think she wants romance? She's quite extreme, and seeing her with a love-struck face would only give me a shiver down my spine. Chinyu asked. Oi, Shiro is still a girl, okay? Spending life alone would be quite sad, so I'm sure she'll be thinking about getting a partner once the danger passes. Plus, while she acts tough and extreme, I can still tell that she's gentle on the inside, okay? Have you not seen the way she looks after Ian, Addie, and Lysandra? Sylvia replied while gently smacking his back. She's right, you know. Aram called out while walking next to them. Remember how I told you about the fact that I can see true natures? She smiled. Amen, we remember. Chinyu nodded. While after coming out of the trial, her nature is much clearer than before. It's not creepy, nor is it ominous. If anything, it feels gentle and kind. I'm sure that her cold nature is a facade for the things she had gone through. After all, she said that Kuromi was betrayed and killed by having her links shredded to bits. Maybe this is a defensive mechanism for her. Aram suggested as the two nodded their heads, since it was quite plausible. Talking for a little longer, they made their way back to their rooms. Meanwhile, Keiko had finally killed the 2 demon generals as they laid beside her with blood splattered everywhere. Huh. Damn. How the hell did they even intercept me? Keiko muttered with a frown while holding her arm that was barely attached to her shoulders. Quickly drinking a high-quality health potion, she took a breather and waited for her wounds to close her. When she left the front lines, she didn't tell anyone about her route and where she was going, but the fact that the demons could track her down was clearly strange. She made sure that she wasn't tailed either. Could this be the work of a mage or something? Someone that can observe from afar? She thought while forcing herself on her feet. Shaking her head, she glanced at the demon corpses and collected them all before trying her best to fix the road. Once she was done, she flickered from her spot and made her way towards Epona. Hashtag. Grr. How the hell did they fail? A hooded figure growled in displeasure while looking through a demonic mirror that was adorned with black skulls. "What shall we do, General?" a demon asked while kneeling down. "The place she's going to right now is quite far from the front lines. It was a pain trying to set up the ambush to begin with. Now that she's further behind the front lines, it'll be quite hard to do the same. Do nothing for now and conserve our strength. Allow the humans to gain some land, but don't let them do it too easily. Make it seem real by putting up a decent fight. Once they spread out their numbers, we can sacrifice them to our queen and summon her to this world." The hooded figure grinned as he stepped away from the mirror. With how arrogant humans can get once they acquire land, they would not expect that they'll be stepping into a giant magic circle that would sacrifice them all. Soon, our queen will arrive. Returning to her room, Shiro had a quick shower while Addy watched TV as usual. After Shiro brought him out to watch TV the first time, he had become enamored by the sheer amount of programs available for him to watch. Each program was a different story for him to experience. Of course, Shiro didn't see anything wrong with letting Addy watch TV since he was still a child. While she was standing in the shower, Shiro started to wonder if she should perhaps send both Een and Addy into a school or something, since they needed more than just knowledge on how to fight. They needed to know social skills, technical skills, and such other than just fighting. After all, if they only knew how to fight, they could be used by a third party to do evil deeds. Damn, I'm really feeling like a mum now. I don't even have a boyfriend or girlfriend, for God's sake. Shiro furrowed her brows, since it was never her intention to be the mother of three. It started when Een received her human form and called her mother as a joke, but soon it became natural. After Een came Lysandra and finally, Addy. Shaking her head, Shiro finished her shower quickly. Sitting on her bed, she checked her phone and saw that Kiyomi had just sent her a message saying that she had arrived in the city of Epona. "Shiro, all right, where are you right now? I'll come get you." "Kiyomi, I'm near the Adventurers Guild right now." "Shiro, got it, I'll be right there." Placing her phone down, Shiro quickly got dressed in some casual clothing. "I'll be heading out for a bit. Don't go anywhere and cause trouble, okay?" Shiro said, while the second part of her sentence was aimed towards Een. "What? It's not like I enjoy going out and fighting people, okay?" Een pouted. "I never said your name, perhaps it's guilty conscience." Shiro grinned before jumping into the rift. Phasing through the hotel, she jumped towards a nearby building as she quickly adjusted herself in order to have a smooth landing. Making her way towards the Adventurers Guild, she spotted her sister pacing around near the outside of the guild. "Kiyomi," Shiro called out while landing near her. "Ah, Shiro, you're here." Kiyomi sighed in relief. "You okay? You look a little nervous." Shiro asked with a frown. "A little. I'm just worried about Keiko, since she might still be fighting the demon generals." Kiyomi nodded her head lightly. "She told me not to worry about that. If anything, do you want to go and check up on her?" Shiro suggested. That might be counterintuitive. Since Keiko is an assassin, it means that she can get out of the situation easily. But if we're there, she might be hindered by our presence. Kiyomi frowned as she didn't know what to do. On one hand, she knew that her presence may be a nuisance, but on the other, she still wanted to go help Keiko if possible. Well, if you want, I do have someone I know that can help us. He's quite high-leveled, and some demon generals might not be a problem for him." Shiro replied as she thought about having Nantion assist Keiko. "What are you girls talking about? Hopefully, it's not anything rude about me now, is it?" Keiko's voice rang out as she teleported beside Kiyomi and stumbled a little. Quickly holding onto Keiko, Shiro assisted her so that she didn't fall. "Are you okay?" Shiro asked immediately. "Yeah, the generals were just a little annoying to deal with, but now I'm here." Keiko smiled. "At least you're safe now. Come, I'll take you to the hotel that I'm staying at right now, and we can talk over there." Shiro nodded her head and lifted Keiko onto her back. "Huh? Wah, Shiro. What? You don't want to be picked up?" Shiro raised her eyebrows. From her memories, she remembered that she would always give Keiko piggyback rides when they were younger. "It's not that. I'm just a little surprised." Keiko chuckled and decided to enjoy it. "Well, I thought you would like it, since that's what I used to do all the time when we were still in training." Shiro chuckled as both Kiyomi and Keiko looked towards her at the same time. "That reminds me, have you really got all of your memories back?" Keiko asked. "Yeah, I remember everything now. I mean, if you want, I can tell you something that only me and you would know." "Same goes for you, Kiyomi." Shiro smiled. Sure. Tell me something that only you and I would know. Keiko nodded since she was quite curious about how much Shiro had remembered. Hmm. When we were still in training, there were times where you tried to soak yourself in cold water and force yourself to drink bad milk so that you can skip out on training. It worked for the first time, but you said that having to go to the toilet all day is worse than swinging a sword. Shiro replied with a smile. Asterisk cough. Seeing Keiko's reaction, Kiyomi knew that Shiro was correct. What about me then, sis? She asked. You? Well, there is so much to choose from. Which one should I choose? How about this one? When we were young teens, you had a crush on one of the boys in our class. He was called Yanagi, and you accidentally traumatized him when you broke a few of his ribs since you were too excited and hugged him too hard. Shiro chuckled. Asterisk cough. Having the exact same reaction Keiko did, Kiyomi was a little embarrassed since she lost her first crush due to a miscalculation in her strength. So what happened? How did you lose your memories to begin with? Keiko asked as she wanted to change the topic. Oh, that. I'll tell you in a bit when we've arrived at the hotel. It has something to do with saving Yuki, so I might as well tell you in one go. Okay. Arriving at the hotel, Keiko asked Shiro to put her down since it would be quite embarrassing to have the assassin hero be carried like a child. Ah, there's no need to be embarrassed though. Shiro chuckled while allowing Keiko to climb down. By the way, do you have anything to disguise yourself with? It may cause a small commotion if the assassin hero was to suddenly appear in the city after all. She asked. Oh, a disguise. I have a skill that can do that. I'm an assassin after all. Keiko nodded while she waved her hand. A magic circle appeared beneath her feet as her clothes started to change along with some of her facial features. After a short while, her disguise was finalized as she had some resemblances to Shiro. This should do. Kiyomi, you should still have the illusion orb I gave you a while back, right? Why don't you use that? Keiko smiled. Yeah, about that. I kinda left it back at the house. Kiyomi scratched her cheeks awkwardly. That's okay. I have a ring here that can help you disguise yourself. But Keiko, how come you chose to look like me? Shiro asked curiously. It's easier to just say I'm your sister to strangers after all. Keiko shrugged as Shiro nodded her head. It was pretty reasonable after all. Getting a double room for both Keiko and Kiyomi, Shiro brought them to her room first so that it was a bit easier to talk there. Lysandra and Ian needed to know about what she was planning to do in regards to Yuki, so she might as well get that out of the way now and kill two birds with one stone. Opening the door to her room, she was greeted by a harmonic atmosphere as she sighed in relief. Wait a minute. Why did I prepare myself for something to go wrong when I returned? Shiro furrowed her brows for a moment before shaking her head. Welcome BAC, huh? When did you get another daughter? Nimue raised her eyebrows. It's not my daughter Nimue. It's just my cousin Keiko with a disguise. Shiro rolled her eyes while closing the door behind her. Right then, now that everyone is here, I'll tell you about what we're doing next along with an explanation of what had happened to me. She smiled while gesturing for Keiko and Kiyomi to take a seat. This might take a while to explain, so make yourselves comfortable. Once she saw that both of them were comfortable, Shiro pulled over a chair and sat down. Right then, how to start this? I was betrayed by one of my friends and killed on the spot. She smiled. The F***CK? Both Keiko and Kiyomi thought at the same time, but decided not to verbalize it. Instead, they decided to be patient and wait until she finished her story before asking any questions. So I was killed on the spot. Remember when I told you that my links were damaged? That was due to this. Before I was killed, the guy named Duan Han Een, who used to be my friend, made sure to break all of my links so that he could guarantee that I died. However, what he didn't realize was that after I died, I was reborn as a snow girl. With my rebirth as a monster, I had lost all of my memories and had to try to survive without knowing anyone. If not for me finding a disguise skill in the first dungeon I was in, I would have probably been killed again. It was also during this that I started to meet my current party. As I continued to level up and go to new places, Yuki noticed my presence and sent a letter to the both of you which resulted in us finally meeting. It was also during my meeting with you, Kiyomi, that I found out more about myself, or rather, Kuromi, through the library located in Muriel. At that time, I still thought that me and Kuromi were different people, so I felt a little guilty not telling you the truth. But not long ago, after I classed up to B rank, I found out that me and Kuromi were the same person. It was just that our soul was from two different periods of time that somehow merged into one body. And now that I have Kuromi's memories, you can say that we've merged together again. Shiro explained briefly as both Kiyomi and Keiko closed their eyes for a moment. So you're saying my sister is dead? Kiyomi frowned. Not exactly, since we're the same person. Shiro shook her head. I see. Who's this Duan Han-in and what level is he? Kiyomi narrowed her eyes as Shiro could detect faint signs of killing intent. No idea. But don't act stupid. I'll make sure to avenge myself, dummy. Shiro chuckled while patting Kiyomi's head. Looking down, Kiyomi clenched her fists in frustration since her sister had already died once and she didn't even know about it. Does Mom and Dad know? She asked. Hell no. If they knew, they would turn the world upside down to find the one who did this. Let's not trouble them though, since I can handle it myself if you give me enough time. Shiro shook her head since she didn't want her parents to interfere. First is because she didn't know what level Duan Han-in was, and the danger he posed to her parents could be quite big. She didn't want to play with chances when it came to her parents' life. So what do you think, Keiko? You haven't said anything yet. Shiro asked. Isai, is it okay for me to get some fresh air first? Keiko shook her head. Yeah, that's fine. Just talk to me when you've thought about it. Shiro nodded her head since this was probably quite hard to take in for someone who could only rely on Kuromi when they were younger. Watching Keiko teleport away, Shiro could only sigh softly. So Shiro, Kiyomi called out. MN, you're still my sister, right? Even though you said that Kuromi had died already, you and her are the same person, right? Yeah, we're the same person. While the personality is a little different, our souls are two halves of the same piece. Shiro nodded her head. Hearing this, Kiyomi stood up and hugged Shiro as she felt relief in her heart. Even though her sister had died once, she had come back for good. I'm glad you're back, Kiyomi muttered while keeping a tight hold on Shiro, almost as if she was afraid that she'd disappear if she let go. Smiling softly, Shiro hugged Kiyomi back while waiting for her to calm her emotions. While this was happening, Keiko stood on the roof of the hotel with a difficult expression. Sighing for a moment, she sat down and looked at the city lights. I was wondering who had appeared with such a strong mana fluctuation, but it turns out that you're Shiro's cousin, Nantion said as he landed near her. Who are you? Keiko frowned since she could not see through this man's disguise. I'm just someone that Shiro saved when she was younger. Nantion shrugged. I see. Keiko nodded her head. You seem quite down. Want to talk about it? Nantion asked since it would be good for him to help Shiro's cousin whenever he could. No, particularly. I can't even confirm that you truly know Shiro since you could just be bluffing. Keiko frowned since she wasn't about to release important information to someone whom she had just met. In that case, then I suppose I do have one way to prove things. Do you know about the truth between Kuromi and Shiro? Nantion asked. What kind of truth? Well, I suppose two sides of the same coin would fit the explanation without giving too much away. He smiled. You know about the state of their soul, don't you? Keiko narrowed her eyes. Yup. It's been quite a strange relationship, you know. I was saved by Kuromi, then kidnapped by someone. Years later, I found Shiro and discovered an interest in her only to then find out that she was technically the person that had saved me when I was young. Nantion laughed while sitting down. And from your expression, I suppose you can't accept the fact that they're the same person easily now, can you? What do you know? Keiko frowned. Not a lot, but at the same time, I do know that it can be quite a strange sensation. I'll be honest with you. What I felt for Kuromi was gratitude since she saved me as a child. As for Shiro, I felt curiosity which slowly turned into romantic interest. Personally, it doesn't matter to me regardless of the fact that she was Kuromi or not since I built a new relationship with her. Perhaps you're struggling between the two connections that you've built so far. One that you've built with Kuromi and one that you've built with Shiro. Nantion smiled. Pausing for a moment, Keiko narrowed her eyes at Nantion. Why are you trying to comfort me? Let's just say that I don't like to see Shiro being worried. She genuinely cares for you, and probably even more after getting Kuromi's memories, so if you reject her, it would most likely make her sad, and that's not something I want to happen. After all, it's quite hard to get Shiro to genuinely care for you, so it's best that you treasure it. I don't exactly know what she has gone through, but there are quite a few traces of having trust issues within that girl. Nantion smiled. Closing her eyes, Keiko thought about what he had just said about the two connections that she had created between Kuromi and Shiro. Looking back, she noticed that they were quite similar. While Shiro did act a little different to how Kuromi did, the thoughts behind the actions stayed the same. Thinking about this, her worries soon faded away. Seems like I overthought things a little. I'll need to apologize to her. Keiko muttered. Welp, it looks like my job is done. Oh, and if you don't mind, you can put in a few good words about me to Shiro as payment for my counseling services. Not everyone gets this privilege after all, haha. Nantion laughed. Who even asked for this service to begin with? But yes, I will keep that in mind. Keiko smiled before teleporting away. Seeing that Keiko had left, Nantion kept a smile on his face as he was glad that things worked out. I would say that you owe me one, but it seems like you wanted to talk to her yourself, and I kind of beat you to it. He called out as Shiro flickered next to him. Can't fool you, huh? Shiro chuckled. I hope the way I convinced her was to your liking. Since I went out of my way to do this, don't you think I should get some kind of reward? Nantion asked with a smile. I suppose it might have turned out differently if I did it, so I do indeed owe you a favor. And since you want a reward, what kind of reward do you want? Shiro asked. Maybe a kiss dash. Do you want to die? Shiro narrowed her eyes. Asterisk cough. Fine. I'll keep this reward for now, so that I can cash in on it in the future then. Nantion smiled. Sure, if that's what you want. Shiro nodded as she prepared to leave. Also, thank you for talking to her. I owe you one. She smiled before jumping into the rift. Raising his eyebrows, Nantion stood rooted in his spot before smiling softly. You're welcome. Returning back to her room, Shiro saw Keiko sitting on the bed. Before you say anything, I just want to say sorry for my insensitive response. I hadn't even considered how you felt when telling us this secret. Keiko apologized as Shiro raised her eyebrows before smiling. It's fine. I had expected as much since I couldn't believe it at first either. Shiro chuckled while sitting next to Keiko. So what now? Shall I go search for this Duan Han-ing so that we can get revenge? Keiko asked, feeling much more comfortable with Shiro now. Not yet. We need to go save Yuki since she is still being locked up. From my memories, I remember the way to unlock her, but it may have changed, so I'm not too sure. However, even without the solution, I can cancel mana, so I should be able to deal with the barrier if given some time. I'll be needing help from you too since there's a chance that high-level enemies may be stationed around the barrier. Shiro explained with a smile. I see. All right, where is she located? If I have a mark nearby, I can teleport us there. If not, I can get some of my faction members to give us a ride with the teleport shrines. Keiko asked eagerly. Calm down, ha. Shiro chuckled while patting her head. Bringing out her tablet, Shiro typed up a few notes on what she knew so far. After losing my memories, I found out that she was trapped in the frozen Imperial Mountains that was located in Mount Everest through a portal. However, now that I've got my memories back, I know that it's not as simple as just that. Duan Han-ing is an annoying person to fight against since he has quite a few weird spells in his arsenal. If anything, there's a high chance that just entering the portal to the frozen Imperial Mountains would either trigger a trap or notify him of our arrival. I also know that Yuki said the space around her is an incomplete dungeon, meaning it's something similar to the legacy space that my friend, Lyrica's mother, created back in Muriel. Hopefully, there's a chance that I can enter the dungeon through using one of my skills that allows us to travel through a second dimension of sorts. The one that you forcefully broke into when you were chasing me, Kiyomi. Shiro explained with a smile as Kiyomi coughed lightly. I didn't know it was you, so I couldn't help it, okay? Kiyomi replied. Haha, I know, don't worry. Shiro nodded her head. Anyways, I suggest that we scout out Mount Everest completely first so that we can get a 100% accurate scan of the entire place. That way, we can compensate for the lack of knowledge now. She suggested. How do you think we should do that? Even if we map out the area with mana, there's no guarantee that there aren't any hidden areas to be discovered. Keiko asked with a frown. I know, hence why I'm deciding to tell you a second secret of mine. Shiro smiled as she snapped her fingers and changed her appearance to that of the rogue assassin, while also showing the duo her hand cannons that she had used in the video. Recognizing the disguise immediately, Keiko widened her eyes in disbelief. Her cousin was actually one of the most wanted people in the world right now due to the weapons that she had that could actually kill with such ease. You're kidding, right? Keiko asked. Nope. I have access to a few items that can help us scan the entire mountain range with 100% accuracy, but I'll need you to help me set up a few nodes in order for it to work properly." Shiro smiled while removing the disguise. Can I look at that gun for a moment?" Keiko asked as she was extremely curious about how it worked. After all, it was the first of its kind. "Sure." Shiro nodded since she trusted Keiko. Handing over one of her guns, she waited while Keiko inspected the inner workings. After all, even if she knew, it would be quite hard to replicate. Not that she was worried about that to begin with. "What is this material? It's so strange." Keiko frowned. From what she could tell, the material was highly adaptive and almost seemed alive. She could feel mana from every single part of the gun, as it was something considered impossible to be done by an ordinary blacksmith. "How did you even come across this weapon?" she asked. "I would say I made it, but I received the blueprint from a few unruly people. I managed to make the gun using those blueprints." Shiro replied with a smile. "Then you need to keep those blueprints secure and make sure you don't tell anyone about this if you can. If the world was to find out that you have a blueprint that can produce this weapon, they would constantly bombard you in order to get their hands on this. You know how human nature can be, and the moment they get the first prototype for a gun, they'll be looking for ways to further develop it." Keiko warned. "Don't worry, I understand. But yeah, back to the topic of Yuki and Mount Everest. I'll be using an item of mine in order to scan the mountain. Once that's done, we'll look for a safe way to enter the frozen Imperial Mountains." Shiro summarized as they both nodded their heads. "Good. And just in case things are harder than we expect, I have a skill that allows me to give you girls a little boost. Think of it as granting you a passive skill, as it is within my privilege as the queen of a race," Shiro said while standing up. "Well, that would be quite helpful in general. How do we activate your skill?" Kiyomi asked curiously, since she needed as much strength as she could get in order to continue to help Shiro. "It's simple. Just stand in front of me, and I'll do the rest," Shiro replied. Gesturing for Kiyomi to stand in front of her, Shiro repeated the actions that she did for Aram. Swiping her hands down, a familiar staff appeared in her hands as golden energy flowed out. This time, it was more controlled as Shiro knew what to expect. "Kiyomi, on my authority as the Celestial Sylph Empress, do you accept a role in my court? Do note that once this is done, the role cannot be revoked," Shiro asked. "I accept." Kiyomi nodded her head. Tapping the pommel down on the ground, a Tier 4 magic circle expanded out as a familiar set of notifications rang out on her system display. Acknowledgement received. Generating role. Celestial Court Champion. Celestial Court Champion. Repeating this process with Keiko, a role was generated for her as well. Current Celestial Court roles. Celestial Court Mage, Aram. Celestial Court Champion, Kiyomi. Celestial Court Hidden Blade, Keiko. Both the roles, Celestial Court Champion and Celestial Court Hidden Blade, gave huge benefits as they would convert a portion of Shiro's INT stat into their most preferred stat. An example would be that 10% of her INT would be converted to STR for Kiyomi. While the boost may be small for their level, it was bound to increase in the future, giving them that extra edge. Plus, their skills had a rather unique bonus passive. For Keiko, she would be granted true stealth for a short period of time whenever her health reaches less than 10%, giving her a chance to escape, while Kiyomi would heal up for 50% of the damage she dealt, along with 50% resistance to physical-based attacks when she activates her berserk skills, allowing her to rampage with even more ferocity. Seeing this, Shiro understood that each role that she gave out would receive something to help their class. For Aram, she was given a skill to help her make more spells, while Kiyomi and Keiko were given skills to help them fight. Now that she understood this, Shiro wondered who she should give the next role to when she reaches level 150. One of the best candidates she had in mind was Madison, since she was the only tank on the team. However, at the same time, Nantion was also an option since he was the highest level person here, but he was quite an anomaly to Shiro right now. Regardless, I should probably keep the next role within the party. She shook her head and focused on the task at hand. Now that both Keiko and Kiyomi got their roles, she planned on making their way to Mount Everest straight away, since the longer they wait, the higher chance of Yuki dying. Choosing to tell the party tomorrow, Shiro had both Kiyomi and Keiko rent a room so that they can rest for now. After waking up, Shiro didn't immediately go downstairs to wake up the party. Instead, she spent a moment checking the teleport shrines near Mount Everest. If this was the old world map before the dungeons arrived, Mount Everest would be to the west of Japan. Since they were to the north of Japan right now, they would need to travel to the southwest. However, in the new world, Mount Everest was now to the extreme north. The worst part about this is that the mountain wasn't too far from the front lines. From what I know, Duan Haning has a few things to do that requires his attention, hence why he hasn't bothered Yuki so far. So I still have a window of time to help her. But with the mountain being so close to the front lines, it'll mean that I need to pass quite a few cities in order to reach her. Yuki did warn me about Duan Haning finding out my presence if I go to the cities near the front lines, so I'll need to be careful. Shiro furrowed her brows. In order to get to Mount Everest, she'd need to go past 2 countries in order to reach it. The first was Korea, and the second was China. Even if they picked the closest teleport shrine to the mountain, she'd still need to spend quite a bit of time traveling through China in order to reach it. It's still risky to travel through the country, even with your disguise, isn't it? Nimue called out from her mana realm. Amen. With them being so close to the front lines, I can guess that they'll be prepared to dispel any form of disguises in order to not let the demons in. There's a good chance that my disguise will be useless in front of it. Shiro nodded her head. Quite a dilemma. Since Keiko is also the assassin hero, the moment she appears in the teleport shrine, everyone would know. True. Who knows if they had a formation to dispel disguises in the teleport shrine? Perhaps the best way through it would be to go around China instead. But if we chose that, the amount of high-level nature monsters we will run into is extremely high. After all, China had a pretty rough start at the beginning since they were besieged by monsters almost every day. A lot of their towns and cities were ruined, and they even had to evacuate the country at one point. It wasn't until the appearance of their martial hero, Ling Tian, did they finally push back the monster wave and rebuild the towns and cities. Even now, the threat of a monster wave still stands, so going around the country is advised against since the monsters average around level 200 plus. Shiro shook her head. But I'm guessing you can go through that place with ease. Nimue smiled. Oh, definitely. But there's one more thing that's bothering me, and it's also the one that's stopping me from choosing to go around China. What could actually deter you from going around a country? Don't tell me it's a demigod or something. Nimue joked. Close. There are rumors and evidence of peak tier 5, or rather, level 500 monsters resting in the deepest parts of the monster territory. Who knows if they actually exist, and if they do, they can probably kill me with just a single sneeze. So I'm not exactly eager about intruding in their territory because I know for a fact that their senses will pick up on my presence. After all, if dungeon monsters reacted so violently against my presence, I'm pretty sure the natural monsters will also do the same. Shiro shrugged as Nimue agreed. There was still too much mystery around why that happened since the previous queen of the Sylph never had this kind of reaction from the monsters. If anything, the monsters wanted to go near her due to her soothing aura. As she continued to research on the path that she should take, Shiro heard a soft knock against her door. Looking down at her pajamas, Shiro thought for a moment before shrugging her shoulders and walked over to the door. It's early in the morning, so it shouldn't matter too much. Opening the door, she saw Nantian standing there with a tray of food. Morning. Want some breakfast? He asked with a smile. Well, aren't you helpful? Shiro raised her eyebrows. What can I say? I aim to please. Nantian chuckled. Well, come inside first. I got a few things to ask you anyways. Gesturing for Nantian to come in, Shiro placed the food by the side first before showing him her laptop. I'm planning to travel towards Mount Everest soon, and I'm not too keen on going through China, so I want to go around it. However, with rumors of a level 500 near the area, it's not exactly the safest option. Shiro said as Nantian nodded. With Tildia. I'm guessing you want me to clarify that rumor along with a safe route perhaps. That would be helpful. Shiro nodded. In that case, then the rumors are indeed true. In the areas surrounding China, it is governed by 3 peak tier 5 monsters that are all level 500. The first is a dragon, second is a gorgon, and the third is still a mystery even for me. The sect has managed to gather few traces of what it could be, but none had been fully proven. Nantian replied. That's quite worrisome then. Even one level 500 would be a pain considering how monsters react to my presence in dungeons. Shiro frowned. Why don't you go through China then? Nantian asked while handing her a piece of bread from the breakfast tray. Thanks. Well, I don't want to go through China mainly because there's a high chance that Duan Han Ing will be notified of my presence. With the country being so close to the front lines, there's a good chance that my disguise would be useless. Shiro replied while eating the bread. I see. Well, you are correct in your assumption. Since there are a few monsters that can shape-shift, there are hundreds to thousands of formations set up all over the country to stop disguises. The moment you enter China, your disguise will be cancelled and your class of a race queen will be revealed. Unless you get a higher quality disguise skill, I doubt you can hide yourself. Nantian shook his head. Tisk, that's a bit annoying. Shiro clicked her tongue before finishing her break. However, before she could even eat the rest of her breakfast, she felt the bed shake as Een woke up with some drool hanging out from the corner of her mouth. I smell food, Een said while looking around the room. Who the hell says I smell food the moment they wake up? Shiro retorted as her smile twitched while handing her tray of food to Een. She can eat something down at the cafeteria later if anything. Seeing Shiro give Een the tray of food, Nantian sighed inwardly since he had woken up very early in the morning to make this all by himself. He had a few troubles along the way, but a cookbook online was quite helpful and he managed to make a decent breakfast. Only for Shiro to eat the bread and give the rest away to Een. At least she ate the bread, I guess. He sighed. You all right? Shiro asked after seeing his expression. Emin? Yeah, it's nothing. I just want to tell you that my branch is located in China and I have my own teleport shrine. You can probably use that to enter China without being detected. Nantian nodded as Shiro widened her eyes. Before she could cry out in shock, she quickly covered her own mouth as to not wake up Addie. You serious? She whispered. Yes. Why the hell didn't you tell me when I was wasting time trying to think of a way through China then? Shiro asked. You never asked. Nantian chuckled. How the F***CK do you think I can ask when I didn't even know it was an option? Does my name not seem Chinese to you? Insects are usually a Chinese thing to begin with. Nantian raised his eyebrows. This man has a point, you know. Hush it. Don't shoot the messenger. Nimue chuckled. In that case, can I trouble you to help me, Keiko and Kiyomi, through China without being detected then? Shiro asked. Of course. Anything for you. However, can I know why you need to go through such a dangerous place first? I don't want to be sending you to your death. Nantian asked. Sure. I need to tell the party about this anyways. Explaining the whole situation behind Yuki being imprisoned by Duan Han Ing in the frozen Imperial Mountains, Shiro also told him about her plans to scout out the situation first. I'm going to be scanning the mountain for any signs of barriers and openings with Keiko and Kiyomi's help. That way, I can enter this fake dungeon in order to rescue Yuki. Shiro explained. That's probably the best way to go about it. From the information I gathered about Duan Han Ing through your descriptions, he's most likely one of those people that would set up multiple layers of traps. There's not even a guarantee that there is only one barrier. Perhaps the mountain is stacked up of hundreds of barriers. Nantian nodded. Hence why even if you scan the entire mountain, the best way is probably to just take out the power source of the barrier. Since he's on the front lines, it'll be quite annoying to continuously fuel the barrier himself, so he must have routed it up to something. Whether that be a natural mana spring or a mana gathering formation, the barriers will disappear once you take it out. The only issue I can see happening is trying to locate the source and destroy it while making sure that the information of your arrival is kept secret. He continued. Amen. That's why I want to avoid dealing with the source if possible and just navigate my way through the barriers myself. If I went for the power source, I risk having one of the guards escaping and sending out the message. At that point, it is very likely for Duan Han Ing to appear on the scene himself. Shiro nodded her head while standing up. Packing her things away for now, she gestured for him to follow her outside so that they can talk about this with Keiko and Kiyomi. Een, darling. Shiro called out. Emin? What is it, Mom? Een looked up while still eating her food. I'm going to talk to your aunts. Look after your sister and brother while I'm out. Sure, take care. Een waved her hand lazily while continuing to eat her food. Leaving the room with Nantian, they made their way downstairs and knocked on Keiko and Kiyomi's room. Coming, Kiyomi's voice could be heard with a soft yawn. The sounds of the lock turning rang out as the door opened with Kiyomi in her pajamas. Morning, sis, and who's this?" she asked as she hadn't seen Nantian before. "Oh, him. He's Nantian, or rather, the little beggar that I told you about when we were children." Shiro smiled. "Wait, you found him?" Kiyomi raised her eyebrows before glancing at Nantian, who gave her a small wave and a smile. "Yup, don't mind him. Is Keiko awake?" Shiro asked. "Yes, she is. She's just getting ready now." Kiyomi nodded as she gestured for them to enter the room. "Morning." Keiko waved as her hair was still rather messy. She was currently brushing her teeth. "Morning." Shiro nodded. Seems like you were speaking the truth yesterday after all." Keiko glanced over at Nantian with a smile. "Of course, I wouldn't dare lie to the assassin hero after all." Nantian chuckled. "Right. Anyways, what brings you here this early in the morning, Shiro?" Keiko asked while gesturing for her to take a seat. "I'm here to tell you that Nantian has a safe way for us to travel through China without being detected. His hidden sect has ownership of a teleport shrine located in China that no one knows about. With this, we'll be able to cross China and make our way towards Mount Everest without interacting with any of the larger and well-known cities that will have formations to stop my disguise from working." Shiro smiled as Keiko paused. "For real?" She widened her eyes. "Yup. We were quite lucky to discover this hidden teleport shrine since it's quite hard to reach through normal means. Hence why we were very confident in making our base around this place. With a few illusions placed around it, we're able to keep this shrine a secret. Of course, while we do have members of different factions spread out across the world, only those that have gone through a specific set of requirements can have access to the branch hall or any hall for that matter. With the exception of those that I allow this privilege, as I'll be taking the responsibility for allowing them in." Nantian replied with a smile. "So, does that mean this teleport shrine wasn't meant to be known by most people to begin with? Why are you even allowing us 3 to go?" Keiko asked curiously since she knew what kind of impact a hidden teleport shrine meant for you as a faction. "As long as you're careful, you could have a perfect safe house to retreat without worry." "Yes, because I trust Shiro and I trust her judgment. Of course, if I'm wrong, then I guess my judgment of character was just bad." Nantian shrugged. "Isn't your judgment of character pretty bad for getting a fancy on someone like me to begin with? I'm pretty sure you're risking your life at this point." Shiro raised her eyebrows. If it was someone else, they would have probably lost their ass and baby maker at this point if they tried to do what Nantian had done several times. All right. I don't need to be smacked in the face with flirting the first thing in morning. I'm not awake enough for this sh*t just yet." Keiko's smile twitched as she was still single for the exact same reason. While she viewed Kuromi as a role model and someone she strived to be with as much as she could, it wasn't to the point of romance, but rather familial love, like a brother complex or a sister complex. However, with the strange workings of people's minds, they had determined that she was in love with her cousin, so not only could she not find a boyfriend due to her identity, but they were also depressed because they thought she was in love with someone else, and that person was apparently her cousin. "What do you mean by flirting? I'm pretty sure I'm stating a fact here, though." Shiro tilted her head cluelessly. All 3 of the people besides her stayed silent as they looked at this girl and wondered if she was being serious or not. After all, there were times where she would just act dumb, and this could be one of those times. Unfortunately, while Shiro does understand what flighting meant and what it is, she did not think that stating a threat was charming or alluring in any way, shape, or form. Hence her confusion. Massaging her eyes for a moment, Keiko shook her head and brought out a map of the world on her tablet. Zooming in on China and the route towards Mount Everest, she gestured for everyone to sit down. "So what's the plan? Is it just going to be us 4 going since it's quite dangerous? I know that you can easily kill people much higher level than you, so I'm not too worried, and even if you are besieged by level 200 plus, there's a good chance for you to escape without suffering too many injuries due to your skill set." Keiko asked while stretching her body lightly. "That's what I'm planning. While the party can indeed clear dungeons solo and kill those higher level than them, I'm still worried about the risks of moving in a large group. While our combat prowess is higher due to the versatile skill set of everyone combined, there is a chance that we are forced to fight large groups of enemies due to being discovered. As this is a semi-stealth mission, moving as a large group would be advised against while sticking to a small group, like just us 4 would be best." Shiro replied. "What about your daughters? Ian and Lysandra? Nantion asked. They're definitely not following along precisely due to the fact that they're my daughters. I could take Ian with me, but it's better if she sticks with everyone else so that she could help them bail with the rift if they're in a dangerous situation. Shiro shook her head as she chose to let Ian stay with the group as a way to keep them all safe. While it may seem selfish and patronizing, it was one of the only ways for Shiro to make sure that she didn't lose the ones that she cherishes. With the things happening around her, choosing to stay with her friends would only increase the chances of their deaths due to her actions. She didn't need the blood of another friend on her hands. One was enough. After discussing her plans with Keiko and Kiyomi, the four of them went down to the cafeteria to get some food before waking up the rest of the party to inform them of her decision. Currently, everyone was sitting around a table in the cafeteria. So you're going to the mountain with those three? Aram asked, just to make sure that what she heard was correct. Yes, I am. The situation is too dangerous to have lots of people with me, so it would be best that we kept it to a small team. Plus, if there are chances of combat, the four of us can guarantee that we can bail out of the situation. To put it bluntly, it's going to be hard to look after all of you and make sure that you are guaranteed to survive. Shiro replied as she didn't want to make it seem like she's calling the party useless because they're not. It was just the situation that was unfavorable for her to take the party with her. If they needed to wage a full-on war, the party would be her first go-to for help since she could trust them to hold their own against an army with their skill set. But since her enemies were guaranteed to be 200 plus, and with the party only averaging around level 120 right now, it would be tantamount to suicide. Then what are we working towards? We're trying to level up so that we can help you, but in the end, are you just going to go on without us again? Madison frowned. That's not it. Shiro shook her head. Then what is? All I'm seeing is that you don't want us around since we're going to drag you down. Didn't people say that soloing dungeons were akin to suicide? Haven't we done it without a problem? Even Sylvia's managed to do it despite being a healer. Madison retorted since it was bad for the party. Only when everyone was together could they be at their strongest. If Shiro left and did everything herself at the first sign of danger, then what was the point of her gathering everyone together at the start? Maddie, it's because having a large group is bad for us right now. If it wasn't a stealth mission, then I would take everyone with me. Shiro furrowed her brows as this was exactly what she was worried about. Shiro, tell me now, when hasn't it been a stealth or solo mission so far? Every single time you would leave us using the same advice and come back. You would even miss out on our class UPS. The joyful moments we have when we finally finish the requirements. All you come back to is everyone getting stronger. You don't know what we've been through, and neither do we know what you've gone through. Sure, you can get a general idea of what our capabilities are like in 1 or 2 dungeon runs, but you haven't seen us when we were struggling because we were trying to catch up to you so hard. Madison stood up, clearly agitated. Surprised by Madison's sudden outburst, the party wanted to hold her back a little while Shiro stayed silent. If anything, you're more like an irresponsible dad that doesn't know how to connect with his children. You think you can try to forge that bond through spending some money and going to the park with them once in a while, but that's not right. If you really cared about that bond, then you would stay with us and reinforce it. Let everyone go through the hard times together so that we can support each other. Madison tried to persuade as Shiro stayed silent. In that case, then I think it's best for me to leave. I'm already satisfied with how this party has grown. Lyrica, you went from meek and scared to being dependable and strong. Madison, you found a best friend in someone you used to not like. Sylvia, Chinyu, you two have found the love of your life, while Aram, you've managed to develop magic not many people have seen. Each of you have grown without needing my help, so I think it's best I leave rather than dump my problems onto you. Shiro smiled as she stood up to leave the table. Call her stubborn, but she would rather take on the burden herself regardless of what they said. It was the role of the strong to keep others free of harm. It was a king's duty to keep his kingdom safe, and likewise, it was her duty to keep her party safe. Before she could fully leave, she felt gravity strengthen around her as Aram had stood up with a serious expression. Don't do something that you'll regret. She reminded as she knows how much Shiro cares for her friends since they were the ones she trusted enough to expose her identity as a monster. Sorry, I'm already close friends with regret. Shiro smiled sadly before waving her hand and dispelling her gravity magic with ease. I'll contact you three later about our plans. Shiro said while glancing at Keiko, Kiyomi, and Nantian. Tapping down with her foot, she jumped into the rift and left the scene. Sigh. Sighing softly, Ian did the same, but not before looking over at Lysandra. You stay here for a while and try to make peace with the party, okay? Mom didn't want to do this, but things aren't too good right now, Ian said with a rare trace of seriousness. Even the usual food-loving face she had on could no longer be seen anymore. A Nigerian Iriobes. Surprised by her older sister's demeanor, Lysandra could only nod her head. Seeing that Lysandra agreed, Ian faded into the rift. ####. Exiting the rift, Shiro looked around to see the tallest building before making her way over to the roof. Sitting down, she left her hair flutter in the wind while she sighed and leaned back. Isilia, what should I do? They're unhappy that I'm keeping them out of harm's way, but if I let them come with me, there's a good chance that they'll die. I don't want to be the cause of another friend's death. Shiro muttered, feeling a little helpless. Perhaps it would be better for her to go off on her own without saying anything. Feeling mana fluctuate behind her, Shiro glanced back and saw Ian coming out with a serious expression. What is it, darling? Why aren't you with the rest of the group? Shiro asked. I got Lisa to stay with them for now. Mom, we need a serious talk. Ian replied. Nimue, Izul, I know you can hear me, so can you take Addie with you and leave me and Mom alone for now? She called out. Surprised by her seriousness, Shiro nodded her head and allowed the three spirits out. Gesturing for them to leave for now, Shiro had Ian sit down near her. So what's with this sudden change of seriousness? This isn't like you. Wrong. This is normal me. Food loving me is just something I like to do because I can be carefree and enjoy the wonders of life. Ian shrugged. I see. So what did you want to talk to me about? Shiro smiled. About your actions with the party. I know that you want to stay with them and level up, but you have so many burdens on your shoulders right now, don't you? Even splitting a little bit off to share with the party would crush them from the pressure and severity of the situation. You're also responsible for an entire race now too. While they do understand a portion of it, they don't truly know the risks that come with your burdens. Should they follow, there's a good chance that one of them may die, and if I had to guess, I'd say it would be Sylvia. The moment she demonstrates her healing prowess against the enemy, they'll make sure to take her out in one go. Ian frowned. That's what I'm worried about. Shiro nodded with a sad smile. Her responsibilities were simply too great to just toss aside and stay with her friends. If this was the old you would have not given a crap and just stayed with them, wouldn't you? But now that a few of those you cherish are affected by your burdens, Nimue, Izul, and Addie, you can't do that anymore. Ian shook her head. That's what responsibility does to a person. Shiro chuckled. Just know that I'll do my best to keep the party safe when you're gone so you can rest easy. Thank you. Shiro smiled. You're welcome, Mom. Stay safe out there. Ian smiled softly and disappeared from her spot.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.